Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 135. England's 38-man training squad has been unveiled and Eddie's got just 4 weeks to whittle it down to 31. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Hey guys, welcome back. As promised, another weekly episode, and this week it looks like we've almost got a complete training squad for the World Cup. So, of course, to discuss all of this with me, as always, is Dan. Hi, mate.
Hello, mate. An important week in our efforts, in our destiny to win the 2019 World Cup.
Indeed. Yeah, we've kind of had we've had a couple of weeks, haven't we, where we've sort of known who's coming, but there've been a few question marks. Obviously, the big one is the inclusion of Cipriani. Obviously, that's great to see. Whether or not he makes the 31, to be determined. But yeah, he's whittled it down to 38. A few people have been sent home.
I think Joe Marler's a talking point as well, in fairness.
Yes, yeah, back out of retirement.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting one because if you look at the props, we've got Vunipola, who's obviously injured, but I'm assuming that they believe he's going to be back in time, and that's why he's recovering in camp.
Yeah.
You've got Cole, Genge, Marler, Moon, Sinclair, Williams. Now, Joe Marler's a tight head, same as Mako. So I guess the question is he there on the off chance that Mako can't make it, that's where he fits in? Or is he there anyway, and perhaps a Dan Cole or an Ellis Genge as either a sort of an old...
Well, not head. Dan Cole, but...
Huh?
Not Dan Cole.
Not Dan Cole what?
Dan Cole's a loose head.
Oh, no, I know. I'm talking about the numbers that won't... That he's going to have to get rid of one, I think.
Yeah,
I think you need a full... You need 3 of each, I think, for a World Cup. So I think one of those he needs to get rid of. And I believe that it's between Cole and Genge, even though they're both loose heads.
Yeah.
Well, I think Genge actually is he can play either side.
Okay, well, it's interesting. I think Joe Marler is... I think Joe Marler may have his ticket half booked on that plane.
Before he retired, there was no question, was there? So
yeah, exactly.
It was sort of one week Marler was number one, and the next week Mako was number one, and they were really kind of fighting for the number one spot in that shirt. And then, obviously, when he retired, he brought in the likes of Harry Williams. I believe Harry Williams is the tight head, but we're not going to go into that again.
Let's not do this.
But yeah, Sinclair's back, so clearly he was sent away for. I think there was rumours that he had a bit of a niggle, and they needed to go and get it. He needed to get it sorted, but equally it might have just been they wanted him to go and work on something specific or get a bit of practice on things that they weren't doing in camp at that time. But he's obviously back, so that was always pretty short lived. I think any concerns we might have had about why he was being sent home have been put to rest. So yeah, I think the props, one of them is going to need to go, in my opinion. The hookers, you've got Luke Cowan-Dickie and Jamie George, not unexpected, and then you've got Jack Singleton as the third option there. Now,
are you taking 3 hookers, or are you taking?
I think you're taking 3. I think you're taking 3 hookers, and you're taking 3 loose heads and 3 tight heads.
I think so.
I think your front row, the fact that you've got that you kind of almost, that you will change your entire front row in every game. If you take 2 of each, they've got to play every single match.
Yeah.
So I think you take 3 of each. So I think that's right. Dylan Hartley, it's an interesting one because Hartley officially he's not been dropped. He's injured.
Yeah, and Eddie has said they're not talking because when he's asked about if Hartley was available for selection, because they've said he's unavailable for selection, would he be there? And Eddie says we don't deal in hypotheticals. So I don't think even if Dylan gets fit now and this knee injury completely clears up, I think it's too late.
Yeah,
and no fault of his own, nothing is done wrong. He hasn't played. I don't think you can now take him to a World Cup.
Yeah, you're probably right. So in the second row, we've got the awesome foursome, if you include George Cruz, who again is there in recovery.
I do include that in him, yes.
And of course, I think you have to. So, yeah, predicted that one a while back. Charlie Ewells, for me, probably misses out as the fifth.
Bye-bye, Charlie. Enjoy watching it.
Just stay fit, just in case. But I think so. This is where for me it gets interesting because you got the four of them, the awesome foursome covering the second row. I don't think you need that many flankers. So at the moment he's got Curry, Shields, Underhill, Wilson, and Ludlow. I think Ludlow, you're there for a bit of experience. You're not hanging about, so you're gone. He does like Brad Shields, but I don't think you need four flankers when two of your second row can also cover flank. The only thing is that Shields can cover the second row.
And so here's another thing. So when I looked at the squad, the main thing that jumped out to me is, Christ, we're weak at 8. We're also the strongest in the world at 8 if Billy's played. But without Billy, I mean, in theory, you might have Mark Wilson.
I think that's exactly it. You've got Wilson who can cover 8, and if something did happen to Billy, beyond just having a game out, you'd bring someone else out at that point. But I think he's purposely going, do you know what? I don't need an out-and-out 8. I'd almost rather say... can you imagine, obviously we want Billy in there, but if Billy can't make it, Wilson at 8 with Underhill and Curry on the flanks.
Yeah, that's hard as nails, and that's good. But where I think... Because Shields has played 8 before, so here's where... The problem is, if Billy's not there, say quarter-final, Billy gets injured, God forbid, and then you've got to say, Wilson, Curry, Underhill, that not much is getting past. But how much go-forward ball do you have there?
Yeah, well, I suppose you've got to then rely on carriers in other areas, haven't you? You've got to rely on your Carl Sinklers and your Jamie Georges, your Mackos, your boys in the second row. Because there's plenty of options there as well. I mean, you're not going to have all four of the awesome foursome involved in the matchday squad. Or you're probably not. I don't think he should be playing Laws as a 6, but the fact that he can cover there, I think, is great.
Yeah, I think Marrow's your first choice 6 from the awesome foursome.
Or Marrow, yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I think Shields is the question mark for me. I probably wouldn't take him, but you might need him just because he can cover 8 and he can cover the second row, and therefore you're almost sort of saying props and hooker, that's your front row, 3 of each, and then second row flank and number 8 combined, you got another 9. So 9 of each, basically front and back in the forwards. But it comes down to what he decides to do with the backs, because in the backs you've got scrum half, you've got Ben Youngs, you've got Spencer, and you've got Willie Hines, who's the new name in the England setup, who I think probably is only there for the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think probably, yeah.
I think you're only taking 2 scrum halves. I know that means that they're both involved in every game, but I feel like that's slightly different. It's less intensive, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, scrum half are pussy, so there's less work.
So Youngs and Spencer go for me. Then fly half we'll come back to. The centres...
Ooh, teaser!
Well, it's probably not a massive surprise why we're coming back to it, but in the centres, Joseph Slade, Tio Tuilagi and Piers Francis. I think one of them goes. I think we all know which one.
It's... So this... Why... I mean... I have got to the bottom of some of these selection things. So the last piece with Eddie, when I'm reading that piece, and Eddie put in a big emphasis when you're talking about players on the character and desire. Piers Francis must have a hell of a character and a hell of a desire, because he's not a hell of a player right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the reasoning behind why he's in the training squad. I mean, he might be doing amazing things in training. I can't see it going further. He's got to get rid of more players. I think Piers Francis goes.
Bye-bye, Piers.
Leaving. I guess the question then is, do you take 4 centres? Do you need 4 centres? Joseph Slade, Tio Tuilagi. I mean, who do you leave out? Possibly Joseph, because he's not had as much time. But I don't think you can afford to, can you?
No, I don't think so. I think you take 4. And if you only take 3, I actually think Tio misses out.
Do you think?
To me, you need Manu and you need Slade.
What you've got here though is you've got Slade and Joseph are like for like, and Tio Tuolangi are like for like.
Yeah,
giving you options to have two the same or inside outside alternate and mixing it up. I don't know. I feel like that's quite a nice. Nice to have those options.
It is interesting if Joseph's miss out because Danny Cipriani can sit in outside centre.
I think I think we're reaching then.
You're reaching.
So
Elliot Daly could
fullback wing. Yeah, there were options for sure. It's just whether you want to. I think you've got 4 really good quality centres there, and I'm not sure you want to mess about. I think you take all 4. That's my prediction.
I think so.
Fullback wing: Cokanasiga, Daly, Watson, May, Knoll, and McConaughey.
Yeah. Okay. McConaughey can't go.
No.
Because I don't know how to pronounce his first name. So without that, Eddie, sorry, however good you are, McConaughey, if I can't pronounce your first name, that's going to make my World Cup.
Is it Rodri? Rodri? I don't know. He doesn't sound English. Sounds Irish or Welsh.
Scottish. Scottish?
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think he goes anywhere. I think, again, there's a number of players in here who it's almost like they've been selected to make it easier to not select them.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. It's funny you say that. I thought exactly that. But I don't know enough about him. I haven't seen him play enough.
I mean, he's a sevens superstar, isn't he? He's come onto the 15 scene. And he may well be a star of the future. I just think right now we're so strong in the back 3 that I just don't think there's any need. You got Jack Knoll, assuming he's fit. You got May. You got Watson, who we're still waiting to see him back in an England shirt. It's been some time, but prior to that, he was first choice fullback.
And he played well for Bath at the end of the season.
Yeah, you got Elliot Daly, and you got Joe Cokanasiga, who's the young gun who's had his kind of shot and proven himself and deserves that chance and offers something very different that England doesn't have and hasn't had for a long time. So I feel like you need all 5 of them, 3 wingers, 2 fullbacks.
Yeah.
And you've got to get rid of another player anyway, so McConaughey goes. So then the question becomes, does he take Farrell, Ford and Cipriani, meaning that he does need to get rid of a Shields, for example?
Okay. So you think the missing number will go from the forwards rather than the backs?
Yeah, so the 31, I think you need 6 props.
Yeah.
So that's lose one of them. I think you need 3 hookers. That's all of them in. I think you need, well, you don't need, but 4 second row, 3 flankers, and Billy at number 8. Because you've got second rows that can cover flanker, the question becomes whether Shields is included. Because if Shields is in, you've got to lose someone else, and it can't be from the forwards because you need all of them. So it means you've got to lose another one of the backs.
Yeah.
So for me, you then either lose one of your centres in order to keep Cipriani, or you lose Cipriani or Ford. But I don't think that's going to happen. So I think it's between Shields and Cipriani.
To me, that's goodbye, Brad Shields. Unfortunately, no. Yeah, unfortunately for all of these, I've actually dismissed it a bit earlier, and I'm like, bye, Charlie Young, bye, please, guys. Well done. It's awesome they got in the squad, but so World Cup impact-wise, who adds most value? Let's talk purely playing because we don't know character desire. I think Danny Cipriani offers more than Brad Shields.
Well, I think, the thing with Danny Cipriani is he gives you the opportunity to change your game plan. You're not getting that with a Brad Shields. Yeah. And I think there's more value in that. I do, after the conversations we had a few weeks ago, I do think that George Ford needs to go because I think he has proven that he can make things happen genuinely from nothing, given the season he's had and the pack he's been playing behind. We know what Farrell's capable of, but Cipriani has those kind of magic moments that can turn a game. So I know you're not probably having all 3 of them involved on match day, but I feel like you want those options available to you. And I think Brad Shields, when you've got a Curry, an Underhill, a Wilson, a Vunipola, and a Toje and a Laws capable of playing in the back row, is not as important. And he's not going to have as much of an impact on a game as Cipriani might do. And for that reason, if it comes down to those two, I think he has to go with Cipriani, right?
Well, I would hope so. Yeah, I think so, and I think that makes sense actually. The only thing, so they're all okay. Because one of the things I said this a while back, and I think this is now fact now. Eddie hates Harlequins, and none of these are Harlequins players. So,
Carl Sinclair.
Well, I mean, as in none of the ones on the verge.
Oh, I see.
And the reason I said a while back he hates Quins, Danny Kerr, Chris Robshaw, Mike Brown, big leaves out. All Quins. He hates Quins because Gustard left him. So he's mugging off as many Quins players as he can, but there's some he has to take because they're too good.
I was going to say, do you think that? I mean, who would you put Robshaw in for?
Yeah, I am being massively facetious. I don't mean that at all. Robshaw, I would swap Robshaw with Brad Shields.
Well, no, we're saying what, and therefore you wouldn't take Cipriani.
No, I'd leave Robshaw out for 31, but I mean,
Right.
training squad.
Let's talk 31. So Robshaw doesn't make the 31. Danny Kerr. I mean,
Willie Hines?
Do you put? Yeah, again, we're only taking 2 scrum halves. So Danny Kerr doesn't make the 31 either, anyway, because you put Spencer and Youngs ahead of him.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, no. Robshaw, Danny Kerr, and Mike Brown. I actually understand why they're left out.
Yeah.
And as good as they have been,
if they've been there for experience and now they've been sent home, I feel like there comes a point where he has to say, right, I don't. The guys that aren't going to make it, who are here to kind of offer their experiences to everybody else, it's time for you to leave now, because now I've got my guys that are actually going to go and try and win a World Cup, and they need to start building their own experiences. You know. So we've been saying for a long time we think Mike Brown's inclusion could have something to do with his experience and that ability to kind of share his wisdom, if you like, with an Elliot Daly. But that time is past. I mean, Mike Brown's not. He doesn't get in this 31. For me, he doesn't get in the 30. Well, he's not in the 38. He doesn't get in the 40 odd, even though he was there. His time has been and gone.
Yeah, it has been and gone. It's a shame. They've all been great servants to English rugby, and good for them. But so going to this squad, like leaving those 3 out. A few weeks back, we were talking about it's ridiculous. You can't not have Alex Good involved. Do you have him involved?
Well, yeah, I do.
Ahead of who?
I'd have him ahead of Watson.
Really?
If he was, I don't understand why he's not been involved up to this point, but I think he's done more than Anthony Watson has in the last couple of years. I don't want to drop Watson. I think it's great to have him there, but I think Watson is a bit of an unknown entity this time around because of how long he's had off. You know, when do you select him over Elliot Daly?
I know what you mean. I mean, for me, Watson covers the wing as well.
I mean, yeah.
And Watson, when he came back for Bath Rugby, he looked as sharp as ever. Fair enough. I get what you're saying. But the way England are playing, the way England's game plan is very fast, have those absolutely incredibly pacey wingers. I get why Alex Good isn't there.
I mean, in reality, you're looking at having May and Daly cemented in the back 3.
Yeah.
And then you've got to decide, is Noel your...
Jet Noel as well.
Is Noel your third starter, or is he a finisher? Because he could be a finisher.
He could be, but either way, I think he's cemented in, assuming he's fit.
You've got Cokanasiga offering different things, and then you've got Watson. Well, Noel can cover fullback. I don't know whether Anthony Watson necessarily gets that much of a look in if these are the 5 that go, because I don't think he's had time. Even if he is on form, how do you find out? I mean, I guess we've got the 4 warm-up games, and we're going to see Watson starting at fullback at some point. I hope during those. So it'll be interesting to see if, with an England shirt back on, he creates headaches for the selection committee.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget the selection committee as well. They're making the selection after the first warm-up match.
Yeah. Oh, well, exactly.
There's only one match, which does. When I first saw that, I was like, is that silly? Then I was like, no, actually, that makes sense.
No, but don't forget, I'm not talking about selection in the 31. He's there, and Alex Good isn't even in the mix. I'm talking how involved is he in the matchday 23s? It's not like a Lions tour where you have midweek games and then test matches. Everything's a test match. So you don't ever really... I mean, you're not taking Anthony Watson just to play against the USA or Tonga. You're taking him there because you think because at one time he was a world-class player.
I think he still is. I think we're forgetting how good he is.
Well, yeah, and
I don't know why you hate him.
I may well be forgetting it, but that's kind of my point, though. Like, where do you play him?
Well, he is potentially a starter for me. He could well be starting on the wing
instead of who?
Well, it could be Johnny May and Anthony Watson starting with Jack Nolan on the bench as a finisher.
Okay, so Cokanasiga becomes the extra man,
depending on the game plan. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's reasonable.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate your sign off on that.
You're welcome.
It's a pretty good squad. I saw it. I was like, yeah, that'll win the World Cup.
It's going to have to. We've been banking on it for 2 years.
We have kind of put ourselves out there on this one, haven't we?
We have, but
we haven't left ourselves much wiggle room.
No, but that's what makes it interesting. Okay, before we move away from the squad, and obviously we'll come back to it in 4 weeks when the official squad is announced.
We'll talk about it.
Plenty to discuss. Yeah, between now and then, with the warm up games and how things are going. But the one thing we haven't committed is of the 6 props. Do we think Dan Cole is the excess?
I
mean, look, Vunipola is in.
Yeah, of course.
Sinclair's in.
Yeah, I mean, we're assuming everyone's fully fit, of course.
Yeah, of course. I think Marler, I think he has to be in, doesn't he? Why have him in the 38, having just come out of retirement, unless you've pretty much already committed to wanting him?
Oh, I think Marler's in.
So Marler's in. We know that Vunipola and Marler are tight heads. So Harry Williams.
Harry Williams is a loose head, isn't he?
Is he loose? So Moon is a tight head.
So Ben Moon, to me, I don't know where we're going with this really, because I don't really know. So Ben Moon. So we're saying 3 of each. So if you're saying,
yeah, it's fine. So therefore Moon is in because he's the only other tight head.
Well, where's Genge? Because Genge is loose head, isn't he?
So Genge is a loose head, Sinclair's a loose head, Williams is a loose head, and Cole's a loose head. So you're either losing, I think, Cole or Genge. Because I think Williams is in.
Do you? You're starting with the Sink.
Yeah, of course.
I think you're going to Sink, Genji, and...
So Genji's in. So it's between Williams and Cole?
I think so.
I think Harry Williams has earned his way into that list,
which is a surprise because after those first match, we're like, that guy will never put on an English shirt again. He's so shit, but actually, he's
what's
awesome.
What's all this? We?
I think okay. Sorry, you.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think Dan Cole for me has kind of been out of the limelight for so long. And he's just spent a season playing for Leicester, where they've been awful up front.
If he was at Quins, it'd definitely be out, but because it's Leicester. Yeah, actually, so that is a good point. Harry Williams has been playing next to team, which has had so much momentum, so much going forward. Been playing great rugby. Like mentally, is he in a better place than Dan Cole? He's just come off the back of a season
I'm leaving Dan Cole out on the basis of keeping 6 props. I want to know what you would do.
I think I agree with you.
Good. So we are getting rid of Cole, Ewells, Ludlow, Shields, Hines, Francis, and McConaughey in order to have Genge, Moon, Sinclair, Vunipola, Marler, Williams, with Cowan, Dickey, George, and Singleton for hooker, Itoje, Launchbury, Laws, and Cruz in the second row, Curry, Underhill, Wilson, Vunipola at the back, Youngs and Spencer, Farrell, Ford, Cipriani, Jonathan Joseph, Slade, Teo Tuilagi, Cokanasiga, May, Noel, Daly, and Watson as our World Cup winning squad.
That wins the World Cup, mate. I'm sorry, that does. Oh, that's awesome. That wins it.
It's done. It's all decided. Why bother having the tournament now?
I love the sound of that team. That squad. Yeah.
Of course, he's going to pick something completely different, and we're going to have to go through all of this again in a month. But
because there are so McConaughey's meant to be an X Factor player. I still can't see him working his way in because he needs to get a real first name anyway before he can worry about playing World Cup.
It's way too late to be talking X Factor players now that are unknown, untested. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
You've had 3 years or 2.5 years to try people out, and you have tried people out. You know, the likes of Curry, who we now think of as an England stalwart, who was a complete unknown that we all thought really, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, he's one of the best flankers in the world.
My God, he's amazing, isn't he? And when you said to me earlier, can you imagine Curry, Underhill, and Wilson? Can you imagine Curry, Underhill, and Billy?
Oh, right.
That to me is the best back row in the world.
We said that before. I mean, I think we're happy, aren't we, with Curry or Underhill with Wilson and Billy? But we're just as happy with Curry and Underhill with Billy, or Curry and Underhill with Wilson.
Yeah,
it's a really good looking back three. And
when you've got hard as nails.
When you've got Itoje and Laws who can also step in if necessary, and then you've got Cruz and Launchbury, you've got a really strong looking back half of the forwards. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting, and I just hope that. I hope Cipriani hasn't been included because pressure has got to Eddie. I don't think he has.
I think that's what made it harder for Cipriani to be involved. I think Eddie's one of those who's like, if you keep going on about it, I won't take him. I don't think at all that's the case. I can't see that at all.
But I'm looking forward to seeing Underhill back in an England shirt. I'm looking forward to seeing Cokanasiga back in an England shirt.
I look forward to seeing Watson back in an English shirt.
Yeah, Watson, Jonathan Joseph, perhaps, Cipriani, and obviously the regulars. But yeah, it looks good. It looks like there's some good options. So,
yeah,
I think. I mean, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about this week? For me, it was just about this team.
Yeah, no, I think this is so important. I can't remember who it was who sent in a squad who we said we'd mention, and we'll probably do that after the final squad. Do you remember we had someone send in?
We did, and I haven't looked it up, so we won't cover that now. But
we'll go.
Yeah, when the team is actually announced, and or just prior to it, as when we do our final prediction, which we've kind of just done today. Well, next week we'll mention it next week and compare it to what we said this week.
Yeah, cool. Whenever, but no, you're right. I think today it had to be purely about that squad. I think it has been. I think. We've picked the squad that's going to win the World Cup.
Boom.
By we, Eddie, but same thing.
/ me.
Yeah. Well, why not?
Yeah, why not, exactly. Great. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Obviously, short and sweet this week, but we really appreciate you guys.
Sound like my missus. Sorry, carry on.
We really appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to us every week and sticking with us, and hopefully, you're going to stay with us for the next few months. En route to this big victory of ours. By ours, I mean England's, of course.
Ours.
As I always say, if you get the opportunity, head over to iTunes, rate us, review us, let us know what you think. If you've got any questions for us, you can reach us on social media at England Rugby Pod, or you can email us, englandrugbypod@gmail.com, and we will try to answer your questions or cover the topics that you want us to cover in future episodes, spread the word and keep tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week.
No, absolutely, guys. Please let us know your thoughts on this squad. So Wade, last week when you sent a message, you mentioned about sort of leaving out of Alex Giddens. Wade, be genuine now, mate. If you've got, tell us what your 31 would be. I'd be really interested to hear. And everyone, let us know where your 31 differs from ours, or if you agree, because this is important, guys. This is huge. So let's figure it out so we can let Eddie know.